This week on Movie Club, we're going to be tackling one of the best movies from the year 1977. And in League with Jaws, it kind of reshaped the entire world of cinema after the fact. And is one of the most intriguing movies of that decade and well beyond since then. And we haven't covered it yet, so I thought, what better time than now as we come to the end of the season to tackle this fantastic and delightful film. I hope you'll join me as we deep dive into this fantastic film from 1977 and explore this incredible culture that came out of it. I think you already know what movie we're talking about. Wait, Kyle's ever watching what movie? You've got to be kidding me. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I was just writing my last will and testament because I think this movie might be the one that finally ends me. So, let's get started because tonight, Movie Club proudly presents our very first bad movie night. Okay. Might have gone a bit overboard, but I might have been wrong about this movie. I think it's a work of genius. I didn't understand it before, but I think I see it now. In 1977, two very important movies were released upon an unsuspecting public. The first was a film by a director who, instead of truly believing in his project, flew to Hawaii for a vacation so he could get away before the inevitable storm of angry onslaught finally hit him from the people that funded his movie. And instead, along with Steven Spielberg's Jaws 2 years prior, the film essentially started the blockbuster movement that we now live with today in Hollywood. I'm talking, of course, of George Lucas's 1977 sci-fi epic, Star Wars. Just a little bit of an independent film that no one really knows about. I digress. But another film also was released that year. One of, I would say, at least equal, if not more ambition. A film that was inspired by the fever dreams of two of the director's children, and would go on to become a cult classic that is unlike literally anything you've ever seen before. I'm talking of the Toho produced 1977, I don't even know what genre to classify this movie as. Maybe horror? I honestly don't know. But this movie, it's called House. Directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. This film is either a masterpiece or the prelude to a mental breakdown. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's loosely inspired by Walt Disney's own Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You know, the first animated feature film of all time. And somehow, I think you'll notice pretty quickly the through line here. There's an evil witch, and there's at least 7 people that are associated with the main character status. And what follows is just as horrific as any witch's plan, but at some point something goes horribly wrong and a piano eats a schoolgirl, and I don't know how I feel anymore. I think I lost a part of myself watching this movie, and I'm not entirely certain if I'll ever get it back. When this film came out, it didn't get a whole lot of traction in Western civilization, Western countries. And it's only in recent years, as it's been slowly eked out into the world, that it's actually become a cult classic worldwide. I mean, hell, even the Criterion Collection has selected it as one of their films. This film makes no sense why... I'm exasperated trying to explain this story to you. I don't know how to prepare you for what you're about to watch. Because, as I said, this movie is either a masterpiece, a misunderstood masterpiece, or it's the start of a horror movie where every single one of us slowly goes insane. I don't have the answers yet, because I've just watched this movie myself. Obayashi sadly passed away in April of this year due to lung cancer, but I think this film will leave an indelible impact upon literally anyone who ever watches it. It's crazy, it's bananas. But there's something about it that is captivating, that makes you want to keep watching. Sure, it's campy as all get out. Sure, it's silly in quite a few moments, but the amount of swing for the fences moments in this movie beats most anything that you'll see at the box office in a normal year, even when there isn't a pandemic going on. It's the kind of crazy fun that can only happen with campy movies from the late 70s and early 80s. The kind of fun that you don't often see in movies nowadays. And that should be celebrated. I feel a little bit disingenuous on hosting this film screening on Bad Movie Night. Because, I mean, I'm certain that some of you won't like this movie, but you'll at least be entertained because something new is happening all the time, and there's never a dull moment in this movie. Yes, the special effects and the story beats maybe haven't aged as well as most other things, but you know what? The fact that this movie tried and largely succeeded to be something wholly original is something that should be credited to Obayashi. Grace Lee, a video essayist on YouTube who works on the channel What's So Great About That, has an entire episode dedicated to camp, which is when a film, you can kind of tell how special effects were done or how they pulled off this film. It's a lot like cheesy films, like the Friday the 13th films, where they're campy, they're fun, they're silly, and you can often tell how they pulled off a special effect, or when Tom Savini isn't involved, you can kind of see through the cracks of the film itself. And in many places, I think you'll see that here too. You'll see the camp in this film. But camp shouldn't be shunned, it shouldn't be pushed away, it shouldn't be denied. Because camp allows us to connect to films in ways that most other movies we can't. You watch a modern day blockbuster like, I don't know, Endgame or Infinity War or any of the other billions of superhero films that are coming out every single year. You don't know how the effects were done. There's no real connection to maybe the directors behind the camera. You don't necessarily get as much of a sense of this is a wholly original film, because the studios are heavily involved in these pictures. With House, you never get the illusion that this wasn't created by a crack team of maybe crackheads who wanted to do something different. You get the personality of this film because no one else on planet Earth would have done this movie the way that Obayashi and his crew did. No one else would have made this movie, and I don't think anyone will ever come close to making a movie like this ever again. And that's special, because camp is where films break down and you can kind of see the craftsman's hands behind the scenes. You can see how they pulled it off. In The Evil Dead, you can see the stop motion animation. Here, you can see some of that as well. You can see how the camera switches to a completely different angle to shoot a certain scene because it's green screened, or they're blue screening all kinds of different stuff. You can see how they accomplished some of the special effects in this movie. You can see how they pulled off the madness that's about to ensue.
Yes. This is a crazy fucking movie. And I saw this at the IFC theater the day I did an SNL episode, and then the next day I went to IFC theater at midnight and watched this movie. This is how much I like that movie.
That doesn't make the film less. In fact, it allows us to connect to the people that work so tirelessly on this film. Despite the fact that we're now in 2020 and this film was released in 1977. It's a way that we can peer back and peer behind the veneer, peer behind the camera, and see the hands that are at work. The way that Grace Lee describes camp, essentially in her video on it, is that camp is where film is incapable of truly capturing the imagination that the people behind the camera have. It's too crazy, it's too inventive, it's too amazing to be captured on mere celluloid. So if you're ready to be blown away by something unlike anything you've ever seen before, Movie Club proudly presents our very first Bad Movie Night as we screen the 1977 cult classic from Nobuhiko Obayashi, House.